Out of the first 24 hours of the Trump presidency, has anything surprised you?
No. I think in terms of the speech,
Burnie got a haircut.
My lead source tonight is the independent senator from Vermont, Senator Bernie Sanders. And it's great to have you here, Senator Sanders. You were there at the inauguration speech yesterday. Out of the first 24 hours of the Trump presidency, has anything surprised you?
no. I think in terms of the speech,
Burnie got a haircut.
I suppose if you're a Trump supporter, you thought it was good. If you're a Trump opponent, as I am, you did not think it was good. But I think the main point, and kind of you inferred to that a second ago, we're going to see a whole lot of stuff. Every single day you're going to see all kinds of stuff. But it is terribly important, in my view, for the American people to stay focused on the most important issues facing our country. All right, for example, very few people deny that our healthcare system is broken, it is dysfunctional, and it is outrageously expensive. Did the president, in his inaugural speech, say one word about the healthcare crisis? In America today, we have a major housing crisis. Not just 800,000 people who are homeless, millions of people paying 50, 60% limited income in housing, on housing. Did the president say one word about the housing crisis? We have massive income and wealth inequality. The gap between the very rich and everybody else never been wider. But sitting behind the president, as you know, were the three wealthiest people in America, worth together over $1 trillion. Did the president say one word about income and wealth inequality? Obviously not. Those are his supporters.
What was it like for you to see those people, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, all sitting behind Trump yesterday, and not just behind him, but sitting next to his cabinet?
Well, you know, Caitlin, as you may know, I have been talking about my fears as to how the United States is moving rapidly toward an oligarchic form of society. And anybody who was in the room or on TV and saw the president of the United States surrounded by the three wealthiest people in this country, one of whom made hundreds of millions of dollars in campaign contributions to him, at the same time when we have more concentration of ownership than we have ever had. The conclusion I hope that most people reach is that we are moving toward an oligarchy. We've got to fight back. We've got to protect our democracy. We need an economy that works for all, not just the people on top.
What would you say to Trump supporters or people who saw Elon Musk and them sitting there and thought, that's cool, these are people who have done a lot for the United States or an innovation, and said, actually, it's not such a bad thing that people should be criticizing? What would you say to that?
You know, we will see how it plays out. But I think, you know, Trump campaigned for president saying, I'm going to be a candidate of the working class of this country, right? Well, we will see if he addresses the healthcare crisis. We will see if he, in fact, is prepared to take on big pharma and lower the cost of prescription drugs. And certainly on issues like raising the minimum wage to a living wage, he's not going to be anywhere near where we have to be. In terms of housing, he's not going to do what has to be done. And the one thing he did say in terms of major issues facing our country is, in a sense, he talked about climate change. He said, drill, baby, drill. So at a time when we have had the 10 warmest years on record, last 10 years, when we have seen natural disasters in Los Angeles right now all over the world, what he says, hey, I'm going to make a horrific situation even worse, drilling for more oil, more carbon emissions. So bottom line here is, I think as Americans, we've got to appreciate what's going on in the country. We're moving toward oligarchy. 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. Millions work for starvation wages. We need a government that works for all, not just for Elon Musk. We will see what happens. Well,
Elon Musk, he was not just there at the inauguration and obviously is playing a pretty big role in this administration. I saw him going into the West Wing yesterday. He's getting office space on the White House grounds. You voted against that law forcing TikTok to sell from its parent company, ByteDance. You didn't believe it was the right way to handle that. But when Trump says he would be okay if Elon Musk tried to buy TikTok.
Well, I mean, this is what oligarchy is about. You have Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post. Mr. Musk already owns Twitter. You have other billionaires owning the major media outlets in this country. CNN, other if you look at who owns them, you're looking at law.
Bernie knows he'll fall in love with her
if he looks her in the eye. That's such a stupid statement. I'm sorry. That's hilarious.
Large Wall Street firms. So you already have a major serious problem in terms of ownership of the media. If Musk ends up owning TikTok, it'll only make a bad situation much worse.
What did you, and maybe you didn't notice this, we have a picture of it, but it's
Interesting Finkelstein take. Did you see this? Yeah, I did. I've heard this before. And also, I also think it to a certain degree. I think I play fast and loose with fascism and Nazism in general. In terms of like ideology, there are obviously markers and limiters, but like I don't make the distinction between like different variants of reactionary politics to that degree after a certain point. Having said that, Norm Finkelstein is not wrong. Here, let's hear what he has to say.
Here. Do you know why? Because there's no opposition. Historically, fascist elements came into power when there was a strong left. The institutions of what we used to call bourgeois democracy were in jeopardy, and the ruling elites acquiesced in a strongman coming into power in order to repress the elements on the left, which posed a real danger to their system. They wanted a socialist society. Some wanted a communist society. All of them rejected the capitalist society. We don't have a left here.
I both agree and disagree. I agree we don't have a left, but I disagree that fascism requires there to be a left. I think Norm's understanding, or more Norm's definition, basically revolves around Norm's definition of this, or understanding of the situation, revolves around liberal capitulation to fascism rather than my understanding of it, which is that liberals are I mean, I don't actually know, because he loves Stalin. He likes Stalin more than me, but I do think that liberalism is basically one step removed from fascism. It will always inevitably go back to fascism, because liberalism is predominantly tasked with the maintenance and continuation of capitalism. So as long as you want to continue defending capitalism, you are inevitably going to go back to fascism. So therefore, I would say liberalism is early stage fascism and takes many different forms. I don't think that there needs to be in a country like the United States of America. I think Norm would say, understandably, that there is no real left. There is no left whatsoever. And therefore, liberals don't actually have a true fear, right? A true fear of the left that would inevitably, from the collapse of capitalism, inevitably create a totally new hierarchy, a dictatorship of the bourgeois handing itself inevitably to a dictatorship of the proletariat, to handing the reins of control to a dictatorship of the proletariat. With the absence of some sort of left politics and some sort of left momentum, liberals won't make these allegiances with fascists and allow fascists to restore control, to restore law and order. The problem is, I don't think that there needs to be. I think that without any common enemies, fascists have basically decided that liberals are the communists. You know? With no real communist there that remains after the desolation, after the absolute destruction of left politics in this country, they've just decided it's actually the liberals that are the communists.